כל השנה הלכות בכל יום מובטח לו שהוא בן עולם הבא. בעזרת השם, today is the 26th of Sivan. We're holding with two mitzvot we're going to be learning today. בעזרת השם, mitzvah 451, שחיטה. And mitzvah number 452 is sur of achilat ever min achai, eating off a wild animal. בעזרת השם, the mitzvot are sponsored today לרפואה שלמה לכל חולי עמו ישראל, ובכללם לחיה בת לאה, ליבי בת רחלי, ליאור בן אהובה, יוסף בן מרים, משה בן מרים, לידיה, ראובן בן לילי, יהוד בן יוסף, שאר חולי עמו ישראל. As it says over here like this, שכל מי שירצה לאכול בשר בהמה, חיה או עוף, שישחוט אותם תחילה כראוי. So the rabbi right away wants to start off, this is very fun language, anyone who wishes to eat from the meat from any animal, of any animal. Yeah, the language, he says anyone who wishes. Mashma, unlike the contrary belief, you must eat. Right, those people? So the rabbi starts right away. If you want to eat from a kosher, from an animal, you must do a ritual proper shchita. Lo yeh lo heter ela bezvicha. And there is no provision to eat of any animal that is fit for us to eat, and must be only done with a proper shchita. As it says in the Torah, chapter 12, Devarim, 21st pasuk, וזבחת מבקרך ומצונך, you do zvicha, you do shchita on your large animals and on your flocks, the small animals, and then the gomar, and then continues, ka'asher tiviticha, as it says in the Torah, as I have commanded you. ולשון ספרי, the way that the Sifri explains, מה מוקדש בשחיטה אף חולין, right? מה מוקדש בשחיטה אף חולין, כאשר ציוויתיך, מלמד שנצטווה משה רבנו על הושת ועל הגרגרות, ועל הגרגרת. Okay? Now, as it says over there, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that the whole concept of shchita was commended in the same concept. I guess there was a zvicha. The lotion of zvicha usually is what? Is a sacrifice. You do sacrificial slaughter. That's zvicha. So I guess there is a connotation. The way you do it there, that's the way it has to be done here, it looks like. So over there, that it has to be what's shchita. What is the main part of shchita is to be very careful and to shecht specifically by a chicken, more the radim, the veins that are over here that control its lifestyle, right? Right. So you cut by the chicken, you cut most of the one. I guess there's a one vein that makes the chicken alive. So that one you have to cut more than half of it. By the behema, however, by an animal larger than a chicken, obviously, we're talking about over there. There has to be two veins that have to be cut with the knife, and it has to be done in a motion, obviously, without any pain to the animal. Now, since we are talking about a nerve of an animal, right? The blood is obviously the nerve. What makes it pasul, as we know, that was very hard for a shochet. Many shochatim are playing with games with the fire, by the way, when they do chicken shechting by themselves. When a person shechts a chicken by himself, he's literally playing with fire. Why? Because the chicken, by its neck, by the way, by a large animal, the veins are protruding. It's protruding, so it's not on the bone. By a chicken, by the way, the chicken, a lot of people are, they won't eat meat, but they will eat chicken. And the problem is that maybe these people don't understand the chicken is actually harder to shecht than an animal. Why? Because the chicken has a bone with right here. You see the bone? We have a bone over here in the back, right? Our neck. So because we're large mammals. Same thing the animal. A huge animal, he has a vein not connected to his bone on the back neck bone. The chicken neck, because it's so small, the chicken, right? If you take a look at the chicken, the neck and the vein is right on the bone. So what's the problem with shechting chickens? If you think about it, chicken is worse than eating meat, than red meat. Why? Because the knife, when you cut the chicken, and it says you have to make sure that you protrude more than half of the vein of the chicken, and it's a very large percentage chances that you're going to hit the bone with your knife. And the knife is so thin, the shechita knife, it is so delicate, that knife, that even a little touch of a bone could actually take off a little piece of the knife, right? And damage the knife. And what happens if the guy is just shechting, and most Israeli shochatim, they have this big problem in Israel with chickens, that the shochatim are shechting by himself. And after 10 minutes, most people don't understand that. After 10 minutes, if your hand is in certain position, your hand becomes numb. But the problem is that in Israel there's a big problem. Maybe today they already changed it, but in the past there's a big machloket now. That's why there's a big machloket in Israel always with shochatim. What happens is the shochet is his own bodek. And that's a serious problem. That if a shochet is his own bodek, which means is that what they do is, the shochet has a nail protruding here, right? Then he takes a knife, in order to make sure that the knife is 100% halak, 100 perfect, without any dent. You have to go to the most sensitive part of your body, which is the nails. The nails are the most sensitive. If you take a look at the old movies that they describe you, the most effective torture was nails. That's the most sensitive part in our body. So what do? We take that knife, and he puts the knife, he slices the top of the nail, and he will feel if there are any discretions while he's not even slicing, he's just running the knife by the nail. The problem with this shochatim of Israel, if you do the shechita with that position, right? He takes the chicken in his hand. Now he's a righty. Okay? So his right hand right now is functioning, and he is doing the shechita with the right hand. Right? As he takes the knife, he takes the chicken, he puts the chicken, and then he holds the chicken by its wings and by its neck with one hand. Right? So that's why shochatim are very powerful people, by the way. That's what they need it for, right? So they overpower the chicken. You think chickens are small roosters? I held a rooster, 5-year-old rooster, and tried to shech that rooster. I had scratches all over me. And I was actually holding it for shochet, because in America, my shochet refused to do shechita unless somebody holds the chicken. Because of this problem. The knife is more than the chicken, and more than you're paying him for shechita. So now, that thing is huge. So now the shochet is tilting its neck, taking its wings, and now he has to cut. Now the secret is, when you shech the chicken, you don't shech. Here's the neck, and hitting the knife straight like this, like you do with a large animal. A large animal, they flip around, they flip the animal around, and then they cut the throat and finished. And they could do so actually straight, because there's so much room between the vein. The whole point is the vein before the bone. So by a cow, it's much more better to eat a cow than a chicken if you're much worried about hashgacha because of this problem. What happens is the chicken, you're not supposed to cut straight. They cut sideways. Why? Because first of all, the Torah here we just learned, it has to be rov of the vein. And because the vein is so close to the bone, it has to be done sideways. The problem in Israel is, if the shochet is doing all this action, after 10 minutes, literally, after 10 minutes, imagine this, they could shecht, I don't know, close to over 1,000 chickens an hour.
1,000 chickens?
Over 1,000 chickens an hour. Wow. Okay, if you shecht less than 1,500 chickens an hour, you're bet shochet, by the way. Okay? This is you don't get paid. If you shecht less than 1,500 chickens, you're not justified getting 300 shekels an hour. They don't get $300 shekels an hour. There's a whole big fight in Israel because so. Here, I had a neighbor in my house, next to my house on East 13 in J, Rabbi Stern, and he was a Hasidic fellow, huge guy. He was a shochet for Empire. So what did they do in Empire? He was a shochet. He shechted 600 chickens in 20 minutes. Every 20 minutes. So they had a whole. Now, what was happening? In America, obviously, there's more money. In Istanbul, they sell chickens for more expensive than. No. Two goyim, Italian, those guys with a lot of muscles. They pick up the chicken. They hold the chicken by the neck, by the wings, from both sides. Tilt the neck, and the shochet just does one motion. Slices and dice. Then they hang the chicken on the rack, and the chicken go. They do 620 minutes. In Israel, 1,500 he has to do in 1 hour. This shochet, Now this shochet, the problem
He
is
has an assistant there. They're holding
in Israel, no.
No, but in here.
In here, yeah. So Mistaba they do 1,200. The whole amount is 1,200 to 1,500 chickens they do an hour. Good shochet, 15 hours. Okay. So the problem with the shochet, once he's when he does all this motion, his arm is numb. So when he tests the knife, who says what was it? In America, they had a different shita in this empire. So they do 600 chickens. Then who comes? Comes a different rabbi. Now, because again, the shochet was just motioning, even 20 minutes just motioning, we already don't trust him over here in America. We don't see, he's already numb. So what they do, they have a guy, the rabbi, another rabbi comes in, checks on his nail if the knife is kasher. If by any chance the knife is not kasher, there's the rack that had 600 chickens, all to the fire. They burn all the chickens. All 600 chickens, they put it to dry. They burn them or whatever. Then they feed the dry part of the chicken to the chickens.
You can't sell it to the goy.
No, it's not worth it. The whole business is they just feed those treif chickens to the livestock to keep the chickens alive. It's a whole big system over there. Anyways, but you imagine what they're doing here. So again, the rabbi says you have to be very careful, and people don't understand that the chickens. I'm more concerned with chickens than meat because of this problem. Good, because meat. If you have Yirat Shamayim, guys checking the meat. Hopefully, but anyway, meat. I like mostly. I like lamb is much more easier for my body. But anyway, let's continue. היה כן שנסתווה בכל עניין השחיטה כמו שידוע לנו. As Moshe Rabbeinu, all the laws of shchita are as Moshe Rabbeinu was commanded. That's where when the Torah tells you something, like all these people who love to say, I follow Torah. Yeah? So what does it mean, kasher tiviti? As I commanded you. So you look in the whole Torah, there's no command on shchita. There's no description what shchita is, b'chlal. So what is kasher tiviti according to you? They don't know nothing, that's the point. No, I'm talking about those people who are pushing today. There is a Torah of Tanakh and there is a Torah of Rabbanut. This guy's in Israel. You won't believe it. It's a religion. I'm talking to you people, Mamash looks like rabbis, and they're preaching Torah kiviyachol. No, there's Torah of Tanakh and there's Torah of Rabbanut. Chas v'shalom. Tanakh Torah is Torah Bal Peh, the Gemara, and all the Mefarshim are explaining to us exactly. That's what we're going to learn. Again, where are we talking about? Masechet Chulin talks a lot about shechita, and it's kedai to learn all the halachot. Ve'over al zeh. Now it's kedai. It's a little bit longer over here, but it's worth it for people to understand what are we talking about here. Ve'over al zeh ve'lo nizhar milechol basar be'ema chaya o of she'ira ba'en echad min ha'chamesha psulin shezacharnu. There are a lot of things that will make the animal not befitting for Jewish people to eat. And any Jew that goes ahead and violates those prohibitions and goes and eat the animal that's not been as we described, or even does, like we said, does shchita with an improper knife. Again, that's the humanity of the Jewish nation. We're telling you that the knife, not like this bunch of animals today on two legs, they go into an animal, they shoot it in the head, or they electrify the animals. Zero concern for animal b'chlal. The Torah says to us how you do shchita. You can't have even small blemish on the knife. Why is the shchita not kosher if there's a small blemish on the knife? Because we're talking about sensitive part of the animal. The most sensitive part is the vein, where the blood is flowing. You're going to puncture that, you better make sure it has no causing harm to an animal. That little blemish, because of the surgery aspect, when you're cutting into the vein, it will cause the animal a little bit pain. Hashem says, now that you made this animal, you cause this animal pain, don't eat from it. You can't eat from it. Chas v'shalom. You're not allowed to eat from this animal anymore. Kadosh Baruch Hu prohibited. Why? Because you cause tzar to the animal. You cause tzar to the animal, how are you going to eat from that animal now? That's very strict halachot of shchita. Melevad sha'avar alav delot tochlu kol nevela. Now, according to Torah, if you cause tzar to this animal when the person shechted it with a boomed knife, he also transgresses avera. It says what? He ate nevela. This is called a dead animal. Right? So now if a person eats this with a warning, hello, this meat is not kasher, be very careful, the person will get lashed 39 lashes if he ate 26, 27 grams or more. כמו שכתוב, שנכתב בסדר זה בעזרת השם. As we explained later, מצוות 472 will be discussing more. וכן אמרו זיכרונם לברכה, בפרק שני, דחולין, also our sages taught us, in מסכת החולין, page 32, כל שנפסלה בשחיטת נבלה, anything that was not kosher שחיטה, it's called נבלה, and they'll be coming into this prohibition. So again, if a person ate not shchita, right, he transgresses the avera, the mitzvah of commandment. Mitzvah commandment 451 is to go and eat only shchita. So that's avera. That's not fulfilling the commands, the king's command. But then also he will eat, if it's not kosher shchita, he's eating a nevila where Hashem told us specifically not allowed to eat nevila. So by not eating nevila, he gets 10 lashes. Not eating davar shchuta, mitzvah number 451, obviously he doesn't get lashes because commandment of the Torah, Beit Din cannot punish. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu now not fulfilling the king's command. For instance, the king tells you, go drink this water, and you tell the king, go fly your kite. You know what punishment you get? I want to tell you. Now, כלומר, כל זמן שנפסלה בהמה במקום שחיטתה, דהיינו הסימנים, כגון שאירה בהן אחד בין החמישה פסולים, שזכרנו או ששחטן בסכין, שאינו בדוק, הרי זה נקראת נבילה. So he's explaining again, now, the whole concept of what becomes, that if you didn't do proper שחיטה, it becomes נבילה. זכור, שחיטתה כראוי, ודבר אחר הגורם לה להפסיל טרפה. Now, what happens is like this. So you're going to say, what's טרפה? Terefa means it was like the word taref. Taref means ripped. Terefa meaning it will not, it's damaged from before. So again, you shechted the animal and everything in shchita was halak. Beautiful. You perform the shchita, you cut the turuv vridim by a big animal, and you cut one vered you cut one vein by a chicken. Everything was kosher, the knife is kosher, no problem, right? Now you open up the animal, and you see there is boomim, there are damages to the animal within it. Let's say a punctured lung. Somebody told me the other day, they were changing the hoof of an animal, right? There was like this, a screw inside the hoof.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff they do. But now you find a nail inside its lung. So, obviously anything with the lungs, there's a rule accepted rule that the animal will not live. It will not live within 12 months. What makes an animal trefa? Any damage that was done to this animal that will make it not livable, not to sustain itself within 12 months, will not live by itself, that makes it trefa, and that will make it, anybody who eats from it, now is eating from trefa. חס ושלום. כלומר, אם לא ייראה שום פסול בעניין השחיטה, בדיקה זה כן עוקב בעזרת, so, אחר הגורם, שכגון שנטרפה באחד מ18 טרפות. There's 18 types of טרפות that will make the animal not be fitting to eat. הידועות, אוקיי? הרי זה נקרא טרפה, כלומר, אוקיי, וזה ששנינו כל שנפסלה בשחיטת נבלה, אין העניין שיקרא נבלה נפסלה, אוקיי? אבל בעל המשנה בא ללמוד שכל שלא נשחטה וכראוי, כי מיתה מעליה היא חשובה. אוקיי, so the rabbi wants to differentiate between the shchata and nivela and trefa. Okay, so again, but both of them is the asur. The commandment of the Torah is to eat only which was shechted, and it has to be done as Hashem tiviti. The word of concentration is the word tiviti. I commanded you, and that's where the Torah, with all those farim and all the chachamim come in to explain to us what tiviti means. Unlike those people who think that they follow Torah, really they don't know what they're talking about. Mitzvah number 452. There's a prohibition of eating from an animal while it's still alive. All right. We're prohibited to eating the animal that still is alive and take a piece off of it. Like say we said, a guy was traveling and now he sees a big animal, right? To take a shchita. Sometimes you see a cow. I saw a cow, like 4 feet a thigh, just a thigh. Can you imagine it? Imagine it. What do you do? So what the guy does? He says, "What's the big deal? Cut off a thigh and put bandages on the cow. Let it live, and it'll live. The cow will live right away. Of course it will live. Why not?" Cut off a nice 10 pounds of the meat, put, what's his name? Bandage, finish. The cow will live many years more. So the guy says, I'm hungry now. Why should I kill this cow? I need milk from the cow. I need milk from the cow. So he said, let me cut off the piece and eat from it. Now we're talking about כלומר, ever שנחתך מבעל החיים בעודנו חי. In that situation, if you took ever min achai, that piece of meat while the animal is alive. Al zeh ne'emar, the Torah tells us specifically in chapter 12, pasuk 23, v'lo tuchal ha'nefesh im ha'basar, you're not allowed to eat soul with the meat. V'chen amru b'sifrei, what does that mean? V'lo tuchal ha'nefesh im ha'basar zeh ever min achai. How can you eat a soul with its meat? Specifically, it's talking about while it's alive. The amrina, the animal is still alive. Amrina is the Torah's Masechta Chulin. You want minutes and I have to go to drive the kids. It says the Masechta Chulin. The kids are calling you already. Yeah, Masechta Chulin. That it says over there in page 102. Amud Bet. Achar ever bin achai ubasar bin achai lokesh time. Oh, now what happens to this person if he ate a piece from this live animal? Right, 20 a gram, 26 grams or more, he will get twice slashes, 17, 8. Because there's two prohibitions on this. האחד זה, mitzvah number 451, והשני הוא בשר בשדה טרפה. So, בשר בשדה טרפה. Good, so what happened here? Now, if the second prohibition is it's trefa, the animal will stay alive. Right? We said, what declares an animal? There's 17 different rules that make the animal taref. But over here, when you took off that piece, took off that 20 pounds, 10 pounds of meat from the animal, from this, imagine you have a 4-foot wide cow, just a thigh, you could take off a nice piece, and the cow is still alive. That's called trefa now. This piece is called trefa.
You can use the milk.
The milk you could still use from the cow. That's not a problem. The problem is this piece. This piece becomes trefa, because this piece is no longer surviving on its own. While it's part of the cow, the whole cow is alive. Once it is shechted that piece, now that piece became trefa. So he gets two punishment from eating to that piece.
The milk also becomes trefa.
What?
The milk also becomes trefa.
No, the cow is still alive.
The milk is trefa.
No, but it's not. No, the cow is not going to die within 12 months.
Oh, sorry.
That's ever minachai. He took off a piece.
I thought you were doing worse. Sorry.
No, sorry, Rabbi. No. We talk about ever minachai. We talk about the cow is still alive, and he just took off that piece. That piece itself became trefa. That's what he's talking about. Mishashai mitzvah. Obviously, the whole the foundation is midah kedesh nomad. Nafshenu b'midat achzariyut shehi midah meguna biyoter. Hashem is telling us, don't be achzarim. Chas v'shalom. What kind of behavior is this? You're mamish an animal. That's how you behave. That's what a lion would do. A lion comes. If you take a look at the lions, those National Geographics, what do? Amazing. They attack a giraffe. They attack elephant. How they kill him? They can't puncture his neck. Or maybe giraffe is easier, but elephant, there's no neck. So what do? They bleed him to death. They bite off pieces. Pieces by pieces. And the animal will drain because the blood is leaking from him, from all the punctures, all that. That's trefa. An animal. So you come to this animal, to this ox, and you took off 10 pounds for yourself. That's what the lions do. A person is an animal. So our nation is taught not to be animals. How to be not cruel. That's cruelty. Okay? And that's where we're staying away from. Okay, and we already explained that whoever transgresses this will punish when they get. And Bezat Hashem, gentlemen, have a wonderful day. Atzlacha rabah.